There are a number of common markets around the world. They are set up so contiguous countries can gain from one another's economic advantages. A chaotic one-for-all and all-for-one arrangement. How well have they worked? The jury is still out. With the recent Brexit, the European Common Market was fractured by the United Kingdom. The 30-year-old Mercosur, the common market of the South Americas, does not appear to be doing well. Analysts have yet to award NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, a pass mark. Determined to ensure the success of AFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, UASC, the Union of African Shippers Councils, has rolled up its sleeves, seeing as transport, shipping in particular, is a key success factor. That is the subject of discussion on this episode of The Shipper. Don't go away as we take a short break.
Nigerian Shippers Council, they to serve you well. No matter the problem, we go solve them for you.
Yes, so the Nigerian Shippers Council, they feel in a parole now for every level. And as soon as goods, they move from port A, go enter port B with a measure within on a need. For the Nigerian Shippers Council, we don't sharp proper to fit hear you wella, work with you wella, and help you fit serve your customers them better, no matter where them day. As we country port economic regulator, the Nigerian Shippers Council get every now to fit make government consider the problem where shippers them they face. Visit we office for number 4 or to buy your daily show your daily. Papa email us for nsc@shipperscouncil.gov.ng. We website now www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
For you, we dey gidigba,
Nigerian Shippers Council with the meeting now for the port of Nane.
Welcome back. My name is Rekia Zikru Yagoyaju. This is The Shipper, brought to you by Nigeria's Port Economic Regulator, Nigeria's Shippers Council. Before the break, we told you that the Union of African Shippers Councils, UASC, has expressed determination to make AFTA work. This is in spite of the current energy crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic that have caused the price of freight to go up. Correspondents Abike Idowu and Lucy Ogalwe spoke to some countries' representatives about this at the sensitization workshop on AFTA.
It's unforeseen disruptions globally, but I bet you the implications of COVID will still be on in the next 5 years. But I know that the IMF global forecast has greatly reduced growth, especially in Africa and in Nigeria. So basically, the disruptions from COVID has a huge implication on trade.
I think this is not something that's peculiar to West and Central Africa. When you look at the global economy, fuel prices, which is one of the components that drives ship engines, is something that is being determined by the global market, which implies when the prices increases, shipping costs equally increases, not only for West and Central Africa, but for the global economy.
Well, first, considering the geographic location of Angola, it's expected to see Angola as one of the countries with higher cost of transportation in the international terms. Angola is now leading with the situation, considering COVID an opportunity.
Energy crisis has hit the whole world. Ghana is no exception. We have challenges with issue of demurrage or time-related costs. And as Ghana Shippers Authority, we had to intervene to get some rebate for our shippers as far as demurrage was concerned.
For the rest of the story, let's join Lucy Olugbe.
The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AFTA, was put in place to accelerate intra-African trade and boost Africa's trading position in the global market. To do this, there is the need to strengthen the continent's common voice and policy space in global trade negotiations. Some of the issues standing in the way of intra-African trade include unreasonable high cost of transportation of goods to and from sub-regional ports, which can be attributed to high freight rates, poor infrastructure, and various arbitrary surcharges. It was against the background of these challenging trade practices that the Nigerian Shippers Council, the Union of African Shippers Council, UASC, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, and Global Shippers Forum, GSF, organized a one-day summit on unfair surcharges. The summit took place in August 2019. The summit agreed to constitute a sub-regional committee of experts on costs to put in place processes that will enable members understand the mechanism for determining various cost structures, amongst other issues. The August 2019 meeting was a prelude to the groundbreaking meeting held in Abuja. It featured prominent stakeholders in the maritime industry, including representatives from over 7 African countries: Angola, Congo, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Togo, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, amongst others. The Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, who was represented at the meeting by the Director, Maritime Services of the Federal Ministry of Transportation, Awal Suleiman, spoke to participants on the relationship between the cost of transport and trade. He said that the proportion of transport costs in sub-Saharan Africa for the overall cost of goods is between 35 to 40%, while in developed economies like Europe, Asia and America is less than 10%.
We must identify the anti-competitive behaviors of multinational shipping operators in the region, which is directly linked to the highest costs of transport in West and Central Africa.
The Executive Secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Honorable Emmanuel Jime, who was meeting the UASC family for the first time since his assumption of office as Executive Secretary, said that the UASC has a huge role to play in promoting the implementation of AFTA to the benefit of its member countries. He urged the meeting to take informed decisions that will enable the sub-region utilize its potential to maximize its comparative advantages.
We cannot continue to remain at the mercy of the foreign shipping lines to determine the fate of our trade and transport through the imposition of unreasonable charges and surcharges on our economies.
The Secretary General of the UASC, Mr. Giscard Lilian, revealed that although the union has taken several steps to address issues on transport and freight rates by negotiating with ship owners associations, collaborating with shippers and carriers organizations, amongst others, lasting solutions have not been possible due to dominance and ruthlessness of carriers serving West and Central Africa.
Des pistes de solutions existent et nous avons été proposées par...
Possible solutions and examples exist and have been recommended to us. Number 1, the possibility for shippers' advice to deal directly with carriers. Number 2, we need to work towards following the examples of Sri Lanka and India by adopting legislation on an all-inclusive freight rate for end-to-end shipments of goods, thereby avoiding any additional costs called surcharges. Number 3, the realization of credible studies that will serve as advocacy arguments for negotiations and debates with competent organizations.
An overview of shipping costs in West and Central Africa was presented by the Director Regulatory Services of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Ms. Ifoma Ezedima.
We have a table that shows the basic freight to West Africa before 2020. If you can see the table, before 2020, we had it at what it is, 1,450. But there was an astronomical increase after 2020. This probably because of the COVID-19 crisis, which exerted a profound impact on the shipping industry.
The Director General, African Center for Supply Chain, Dr. Obiora Madu, made a presentation demonstrating how African shippers can participate effectively in the African Continental Free Trade Area.
I don't know whether there's anybody from Freetown around, that there's no free lunch any longer, even in Freetown, and that we need to work hard to be able to get the benefits that accrue from African Continental Free Trade Area.
After listening to papers presented, Countries and stakeholders present were given the floor to discuss their experiences on issues hindering efficient intra-African trade.
Why is it that in Africa, it is easier to export and import towards Europe and the rest of the world, but it is difficult to have intra-African exportation or importation? There are some obstacles that are obstructing the free trade agreement. For instance, some countries have not yet put in place national committees for trade facilitation, and this is one of the things that is constituting blockage and not allowing Africa to take advantage of AfCFTA.
Nous sommes livrés à un exercice au niveau du Cameroun qui a consisté d'analyser le délai de passage portuaire des marchandises.
In Cameroon, we have commenced an exercise to analyze passage deadlines of goods at the ports, which is about 17 to 19 days. However, when we looked at the concessionaire analysis, we had to ask ourselves, who are the people contributing towards these delays? We discovered that between the arrival of goods, registering, and custom clearing, it takes about 11 days. So the operators still have to wait for 11 days before he can start his procedure. You now see that the port is not more for passage of goods, but for storage. This act alone will have an impact on the cost of goods and longevity of ships.
Mais il se fait que nous ne maîtrisons pas suffisamment ces aspects. Je prends par exemple la marchandise congolaise qui quitte la Chine pour venir.
We do not control all the aspects in transportation logistics. For example, goods leaving China to come to Congo pass through Dar es Salaam port. The freight alone between Dar es Salaam port and Democratic of Congo, going by the south course, is about 4 or 5 times the maritime course. We need to work on mastering the multimodal cost of transport, as this is a problem we are really facing in our country.
Nous allons nous focaliser sur les corridors routiers.
One of the obstacles we face in Burkina Faso is on the road corridors. As of today, we need to say that just like in many countries, the concession of cargo handling is more of a monopoly. Both at coastal countries and within the hinterlands, the cost of handling has gone up. And when our economic operators get to the ports, they make excuses. From the 90% of cargo that arrives to coastal ports, less than that actually gets to Burkina Faso. This is not allowing us have an eye on the shipping companies that are handling our goods at the ports.
Qui tient des réunions périodiques avec les syndicats de transporteurs et avec les représentants.
The council holds periodic meetings with Transporters Union, where we have representatives of different countries like Mali, Niger, and so on. So whenever their transporters have problems, they refer to the National Shippers Council of Togo, and together we find solutions to their problems.
Having a Greek lock in Apapa, it shouldn't be so. If the right people can be able to handle it properly, we should try to eradicate all those things because it's affecting the business environment.
Speaking exclusively with the shipper, the Executive Secretary, CEO of the NSC, Honorable Emmanuel Jime, stated that there are infrastructural deficits that need to be addressed for Nigeria to secure the status of maritime hub.
It is clear that Africa, indeed particularly our sub-region, has woken up, to the reality that we have to do something fundamental to change that particular factor of doing business in a positive way that can affect, again, I might use the word positively, the doing of business across borders. Now, so that is the first thing that the Shapers Council is engaged in, because we are working together with sister nations, to come away and provide solutions as to how can we mitigate the cost of doing business.
Also speaking with the shipper, the Director of Consumer Affairs of the Council, Chief Kajitan Agu, stated that compliance with the processes and procedures of shipping will make clearance faster. He made recommendations that stakeholders in the logistics chain need to adapt in order to ensure ease of doing business in the maritime sector.
Government must provide infrastructure. Government must provide regulation. We're also talking of shippers, because the importers and the exporters, they must also comply with processes and procedure. When they comply with processes and procedure, it makes clearance faster. We're also talking of the customs, the need to modernize the Nigeria customs, the need to deploy, scanners at the port for quick clearance. So we're also talking of the shipping companies. There's what we call ethics and integrity in international trade. So they must actually show that ethical behavior in terms of doing the right thing, to ensure that there is competition, to also show that there is efficiency and there is also value for money.
For the President General, National Shippers Association of Nigeria, Dr. Innocent Akuvwe, the main concern for shippers at the meeting is to understand why a freight cost for goods from Asia that was previously $3,000 is now $10,000. He recognized that although there are local challenges that could influence the high cost, he implored the union to address the global reasons for the increased charges.
A lot of us know the problems we have at our various ports, especially in Nigeria. Most of the ports are congested. Most of the ports don't have good routes for you to move your shipments. So these are concerns that we would want to be addressed. But for us now, we really want to know what's going on globally in terms of freight cost. We need to know what's going on because the value chain is huge. It has affected a lot of operations. People are importing less. Freight forwarders have less to clear. The ship itself has less to carry. And revenue on the government is also dropping. So we need to know what's going on.
Muda Yusuf, the former Director General, Lagos Chambers of Commerce and Industry, spoke with the shipper. He urged stakeholders to ensure that they adhere to the resolutions reached at the meeting, noting that the recommendations do not apply uniformly to all actors.
There are aspects of it that require engagement with all the stakeholders in the maritime sector, particularly the shipping companies, the terminal operators, and the cargo owners themselves. Because the issues around the maritime sector space, especially around the costs, are issues that we need to tackle from different dimensions.
Mr. John Kofi, the Secretary General, Port Management Association of West and Central Africa, called for collaboration amongst member countries to surmount the various challenges. He also urged delegates to contribute their efforts to enable the committee achieve its objectives.
Right now, everything is come from sea. All the importation, all the exportation also go through sea. That means that is really important. Sea is really important. So you have to secure that one. Another thing African Union is talking is that even this one is rising, the problem we have is that you are not developing trade among African countries. You have to develop that one.
The highlight of the meeting was when the NSC boss inaugurated the Committee of Experts on Costs. The newly inaugurated body has been tasked with addressing and analyzing the cost component of maritime transport costs in the region, while ensuring all elements of cost relating to delays and corrupt practices are eliminated.
Under the auspices of the powers constituted on our committee and my humble chairmanship, declare and pronounce as inaugurated the members of this Committee of Experts on Costs. Thank you.
Members are drawn from Angola, Benin, Ghana, Guinea, Niger, Senegal and Togo, with Nigeria serving as the chairman.
When all eyes are on you, you tend to put your best foot forward. That's what we know will happen with UASC and AFTA. Over now to Segun Aloko for tidbits.
It's tidbits on the premier maritime program on television, The Shaper. I am Oluwasegun Aloko. The chairman of the Nigerian Port Consultative Council, NPCC, Otumba Kunle Folarin, has called for the institution of the national single window at the nation's seaport. Otumba Folarin made a call when he led the NPCC on a courtesy visit to the Nigerian Shippers Council headquarters in Lagos. According to him, national single window would give Nigeria a competitive edge over other maritime nations. The Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Honorable Emmanuel Jime, expressed delight for the visit. He said NSA is pushing for a legal framework which would be of immense benefit to the transport industry. Now, let me bring you some news on shipping across the globe. Off the coast of Vancouver Island in the northeastern Pacific Ocean and part of the Canadian province of British Columbia, a fire incident had occurred that involved containers loaded with hazardous material on board a cargo vessel. The situation seemed under control. However, the search activity to locate 40 containers that are falling overboard got hampered by a storm. The fire was caused by leakage of a chemical powder from the containers destroyed in the storm. The remaining containers on the deck caught fire. 16 crew members had been taken off the ship while 5 crew members stayed on board to help put off the fire. Thank goodness that no injuries were reported. What's more, the Indian Navy has developed a unique aircraft carrier indigenously. The carrier Vikrant is scheduled to undergo a series of trials to assess all systems and equipment before delivery in the coming year. The 262-meter-long indigenous aircraft carrier has a width of 62 meters and a height of 59 meters that includes the superstructure. The ship has more than 2,300 compartments exclusively designed for a crew comprising nearly 1,700 members. Vikrant also has accommodation designed in a gender-sensitive manner, especially for its women officers. The ship deploys a high degree of automation for ship navigation, survivability, and machine operations. The reminder comes again to all regulated service providers, which include the terminal operators, barge operators, shipping companies, freight forwarders, and clearing agents, amongst others, to register with the Council. Failure to do so would attract penalties. Registration can be done via the website www.shipperstradedata.gov.ng. Here is a letter from Prime Agencies Nigeria Limited appreciating the Council for mediating in a case between its client, Mamoda Industries Nigeria Limited, and Apagloid Limited. And that's it on Tidbits for this week.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is now better poised with responsive systems in place to help you and other shippers get seamless, stress-free transition for your clients' goods from point A to B. Today at the Nigerian Shippers Council, timeliness, orderliness, transparency, and efficiency is all we care about. Put your complaint through to our helpline. Visit us at number 4 Ayodele Shoyode Lane, Apapa, Lagos, or reach us on www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
Nigerian Shippers Council. We meet you at the port of your needs.
And that's it on The Shipper. Thanks for watching. Before we go, a quick reminder to all regulated service providers to register with Nigerian Shippers Council on www.shipperstradedata.gov.ng. Have a swimmingly great week ahead. Goodbye.